Coming up, 10 years ago, the Committee on Standards in Public Life recommended that political donations were capped at £10,000 per donor, per party, per year. But 10 years later, surprise surprise, the system of political donations remains unchanged, with every Tory-led government since refusing to reform the system. Let's take a closer look. If you enjoy these videos, please click the like button, subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new videos every Wednesday and Saturday. As a sign of our times, or more accurately a sign of the cronyist government we live under, this Committee on Standards in Public Life now has a new member, Ewan Ferguson, a friend and crony of Boris Johnson's from Eton, and with every new appointment under this government, it looks even more unlikely that the committee will push to get money out of politics. But multiple campaign groups, such as Transparency International UK, are saying it's time for clear limits on the size of donations, and are urging MPs from all parties to consider new rules to limit the opportunity for corruption. In a recent video, we reported on the so-called Conservative Advisory Board, which turns out to be a private club for individuals contributing £250,000 to the Tory party each year, buying them monthly access to the Prime Minister and Chancellor of the Exchequer to lobby them for lower taxes and public spending cuts. What could be less democratic than to allow money to purchase this kind of lobbying power? Looks like we're adopting the American system here in the UK. The Independent newspaper reports that Alex Runswick of Transparency International UK reckons that this purchased influence corrodes the public's trust in the political system and means that political parties don't have to build a broader, more democratic base for financial support. I say parties plural, but make no mistake, this cash for access problem has an overwhelmingly Tory stench to it. Just 10 super donors, nearly all men, account for over a quarter of all donations made by individuals to the Conservative Party since Boris Johnson became Prime Minister, each giving an average of over £1 million. Never was so much donated by so few influencing the lives of so many. I mean, you can only wonder what they're getting in return that makes that sort of donation worth their while. And it's not just Transparency International that are flagging up the danger. The Electoral Reform Society are expressing grave concerns about how such a small group have gained such potential influence by providing such a large proportion of the Tory party's funds. Darren Hughes, their chief executive, says that political debate shouldn't be something bought by a few very wealthy individuals. And of course it shouldn't. Other European democracies of our size have caps on donations and much stricter regulations on political donations as a counter to corruption. Right now, the UK political landscape is ripe for corruption and being exploited by the mega wealthy to garner political influence that is against the interests of the electorate at large. Although disgraced Cabinet Minister Grant Shapps, also known as Michael Green of the great get-rich-quick scheme controversy, said large donations to the Tory party from wealthy people should not be painted as some sort of immoral act, claiming that voters prefer having political parties funded by secret private interests rather than being openly funded from the public purse. And I have a very depressing feeling that he could be right in 21st century Tory Britain, with a disinterested and uninformed electorate. We need to educate voters on the merits of an openly and publicly funded political system as part of a concerted campaign from opposition parties to get this government to enact controls and limits on the size of donations, who they can be accepted from, and much greater transparency on the vested interests of donors. For example, we still have no idea who the members of the £250,000 a year advisory board of wealthy Tory donors are. And so their motives in splashing the cash to Johnson and his cabal are a mystery wrapped in an enigma. This cash for access culture led to Peter Cruddas losing his job under David Cameron 7 years ago. But in 2021, it seems the perpetrators are being rewarded, like Conservative Party co-chairman and Prince Charles's nephew, Ben Elliott, who allegedly arranged access to his uncle for donors to Prince Charles's various charities, and who was reportedly instrumental instrumental in setting up the donor network for the Tory advisory board. With characters like him strolling the corridors of power for personal gain, it really is time to start getting the money out of politics and returning to some sort of transparency and functioning democracy. But that said, I'm sure you're curious to know who those top 10 Tory donors are. Well, here's a quick rundown for you. At number 10, Howard Shaw, with a £609,000 donation. He's a founder of finance firm Shaw Capital and an ardent Brexit supporter. At number 9, Jamie Rubin, with a £639,000 donation, a property tycoon whose company was part of a failed bid for Newcastle United via the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, a deal Boris Johnson described as brilliant. Number 8, Lyubov Chernukin, a £681,000 donation. Her husband was a minister in Vladimir Putin's government. You can't delve too deep into Tory finances before stumbling across a connection to Vladimir Putin's government. At number 7, Sir Ehud Sheleg, with a £832,000 donation. He's the Tory party treasurer who was given a knighthood under Theresa May. Cash for access, cash for honours, it's all part of the same culture. Number 6, the aforementioned Peter Cruddas with an £872,000 donation. Ironically, it's that same Peter Cruddas, now Baron Cruddas, who lost his job during the Cash for Access scandal 7 years ago under Cameron. Cruddas made a £500,000 donation to the Tories days after taking his seat in the House of Lords. And in June, the anti-corruption campaign, the Good Law Project, launched legal action over the peerage, claiming that Mr Johnson ignored the advice of the House of Lords Appointments Committee against making this businessman a lord. At number 5, Peter Wood with a £1 million donation. He's the founder of Direct Line and eShore insurance companies. I wonder what he's hoping to buy with that largesse. At number 4, Jonathan Wood, also with a £1 million donation. He's the founder of hedge fund SRM Global, ditto. And at number 3, Peter Hargreaves, another £1 million donation, co-founder of financial services giant Hargreaves Lansdown, ditto. Wonder what he wants for that money. Number 2, John Gore, a £1.4 million donation. He's a theatre production tycoon, and again, I've no idea what he's buying with this handout, but follow the money, and one day I'm sure it'll become obvious. At number 1, the single biggest individual donor since Boris Johnson came to power is Malcolm Healey, whose company owns Wren Kitchens. He's given the Tories £2 million in the past 2 years. And meanwhile, at my new house, I've cancelled my order for a new kitchen from Wren, and I'll be using Howden's instead. Cancel culture? I prefer to see it as my little fight back for democratic choice right there. And if you want to fight back, why not sign Open Democracy's petition to get dark money out of UK politics by following the link below.